Hey friends, VC West here, checking in. I guess this is going to be a Vinyl Survivor number 12. Like in this series where I can actually talk about some of the stuff I've been listening to lately and tell you about what I'm keeping and what I'm not keeping. Working on the end of my La Fin du Monde from Unibrew here. Wonderful Belgian triple. And I'm drinking this before noontime, but I gotta go to work this afternoon, so need to be sober by the time I get to work. But anyway, we're gonna get into this Vinyl Survivor number 12. So the first thing, we'll start off with a few things that didn't make it, but these are really nice clean copies, and so I'm going to put them in my trade or sale bin and see if anybody else wants these. The first thing we got is Freddie Jackson, Rock Me Tonight. This is a promo copy, gold stamp. Yeah, it has Rock Me Tonight, but this is just, it's not for me. So something I picked up at Goodwill. Glad to have heard it, but it's not something I would really ever see myself listening to again. So we got Freddie Jackson, Rock Me Tonight. Next thing we got, Diana Ross, Why Do Fools Fall in Love? This has Endless Love on it. Yeah, this is another one that I really just don't see myself listening to this again, but again, it's really, really nice, clean copy. So if somebody is a Diana Ross fan, they would probably like to have this. It's really nice. And the last thing that didn't make it is Atlantic Stars, As the Band Turns. This one's still in shrink, and I left it on because it has a nice sticker on it. But yeah, this just was too disco-y for me. Didn't do anything for me. Just wasn't for me. So hopefully I can find a new home for this. Somebody that will love it more than I do. Okay, so moving on to the stuff I am keeping, which is a much larger pile as usual. First thing we got here is Thompson Twins, Close to the Bone. This is an even later, this is from '87 Thompson Twins. This is sort of, there's less and less of them as time goes on. And I still don't love this one as much as the next one you're going to see here, but this is another one that I got from Doc Deadwax. This is another Canadian pressing. Scarborough, Ontario. Yeah, Thompson Twins sort of got softer as time went on, is what I'm finding, and not as good. I really like the more edgy, sort of electronic sounding stuff, and this is more like love ballad kind of stuff, and not what I'm looking for, but I'm going to keep it in the collection for a while. I can see myself revisiting this, and it's not terrible. It's just not the Thompson Twins I love. Alrighty, moving on. This is Thompson Twins I do love. This is Into the Gap. I already have this in my collection, but this is a Canadian pressing. This is another one that Mark sent me. I love this album. It's just incredible. The title track is incredible. It's not one of the hits, but it's a great song. Well, it's just called The Gap is the name of the song. The first song on side B. Just every single song on here is great. Great. So, really happy to have a Canadian pressing of this. Very cool. Next thing is another one from Mark. This is sort of, I just now got into the stuff he sent me. I had to clean several of these things that he sent. He didn't clean. He only cleaned this one, which was Passport's Garden of Eden. Yeah, I didn't love this. This started out really great. I mean, the first track is called Big Bang, and it's killer. And I was like, all right, I'm hooked. I'm ready. And then the rest of the album was just a letdown for me. So I'm gonna revisit this at some point. It's not all bad. Like I said, I love the opening track, but the rest of the album was somewhat of a letdown for me. And another thing Mark sent me was some more synth pop sort of stuff. This is Simple Minds, Once Upon a Time. This is good, very enjoyable. I don't love it as much as like early Thompson Twins stuff, but it's a good album, nice and clean, and definitely be keeping that in the collection for now. Next up, we got another one to add to the Hendrix collection. This is In the West, some more live recordings. This is from somewhere in the UK. I'm forgetting now where the actual recording of this was done, but you know, it's more Hendrix sort of outtakes, live sort of stuff. You know, he has a very short. He had a very short recording career, so there's not a lot of material out there. So it's always fun to hear alternate versions, live versions of his stuff. So that was an ad. I think I got this from Best Buy online for, I think it was around $10. They were having some sales, so I picked a couple of these Hendrix ones up for under $10 at Best Buy. That's where that came from. Next up, we got Urban Cowboy soundtrack. First, I wasn't sure whether I was going to keep this or not, but I like a lot of the songs on here. It's kind of enjoyable song. I don't have a lot of country, and this is not great country. I mean, this is not like alt country or anything. This is very, very popular sort of country, late '70s country kind of stuff. But it's certainly better than today's popular country. So that's a keeper. I mean, it was a Goodwill find, and I'm going to keep it for now. Next thing we got here is Gordon Lightfoot's Sundown. The title track was a very popular hit song for him. I really enjoyed listening to this. Particularly on my new speakers, I really heard things that I hadn't heard before. Like, there's actually Moog on here. This is from '73. Yeah, I never really noticed the Moog on here, and I'm like, is there a Moog in this? You know, Gordon Lightfoot's traditional sort of Canadian folky sort of stuff, but I love how he can just sort of do different things, and this is a really good album from him, and yeah. Really good. Circle of Steel is on here. The List is good. Good stuff. So Gordon Lightfoot's Sundown was a really popular album for him, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. Next up, this is probably one of the earliest albums I ever bought. I probably bought this when I was 12 or 13 maybe. Very early on. Still have it. This is Steely Dan's Asia. Very classic. I know pretty much most of you have this probably. Great album. I'm glad I have it. I'm glad I've kept this one so long. But finally got around to actually cleaning it with my cleaning method, and playing it. Sounds great. So definitely adding that to the collection. And when I put in my Antagonize a Mind thread, this is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. It has some water damage to it. It is on Harvest, which is cool. Yeah, this isn't a Pink Floyd album where I particularly love, mainly just because I think it's overplayed. I mean, I've heard Money and Time just over and over and over and over and over again, and it's just, it's hard for me to listen to this. The classic rock album changed to a country station here about 3 years ago now, so it's getting easier to listen for me now because I just don't hear it as much as I used to. But for a while there, I couldn't listen to this at all just because it was played so much. Okay, next thing we got here is Peter, Paul and Mary's album. This was I believe this was '66. But they were struggling to find rock and roll was sort of coming into its own. They were struggling to sort of keep up with the times. There's a track on here with Butterfield Blues Explosion. Some people, Paul Butterfield and Mike Bloomfield and some other people. Definitely some interesting tracks on here. But yeah, just sort of an interesting time for the group, and some good stuff on here. Really enjoyed that. Next up is a UK pressing. We got Soul with the Drifters. This is sort of a greatest hits. Like Say the Last Dance, This Magic Moment, Under the Boardwalk, On Broadway. Some really cool stuff. German pressing on Marathon Records. Next thing we have here is Charlie Daniels' Fire on the Mountain. The opening track on here is one I really love, Caballo Diablo. Really cool. It's got Long-Haired Country Boy on it, and The South's Gonna Do It Again. Those are probably the more well-known songs on here, but really good Charlie Daniels band. I love Charlie Daniels band in general. Just they sort of were willing to push the boundaries of country, and they sort of crossed the boundaries between country and sort of southern rock, and really good. So I'm glad to have that. Next one is a Gordon Lightfoot that I wouldn't recommend as much. This is Endless Wire. This is from '78, I believe. Yeah, '78. There's some strings on here that kind of bring it down a few notches. It was the late '70s, and strings were the thing to do. To put strings on everything, and it kind of got overdone. But yeah, it's Gordon Lightfoot. I collect everything, so be adding that to the collection. But not as recommended as, say, Sundown or something like that. Next up, we got a Barry White album, Just Another Way to Say I Love You. Very cool Barry White album here. And this is classic Barry White baby making music here. Or not baby making music, whatever it is. It's something making music. But yeah, good Barry White, enjoyable to have. Got another Peter, Paul and Mary, In the Wind. This is a '70s repressing of this album, but it's really clean, a lot better than my original pressing, so I'm going to be replacing it with this. Next up is one if you check out anything from this group, this is the one to check out. This is Charles Bradley's No Time for Dreaming. I heard about this guy on NPR Music, and they played the song The World is Going Up in Flames, and this is just classic soul. If you love James Brown, you're going to love this guy. Yeah, they played this song from this guy, and I went and looked up more information about him, and I clicked on his bio, and the first thing I read was born in Gainesville, Florida. I'm like, are you shitting me? This guy's born in Gainesville, Florida, where I'm at right now. And so I'm like, if that's not a hint that I need to have this album, nothing is. So I went right on, ordered this album, and it definitely delivers. If you love soul, heavy soul, James Brown kind of stuff, this has been really wonderful album for me. Dealing with a little bit of I don't know, sadness because of the whole Chick-fil-A thing that's going on right now, and I had to unfriend some people on Facebook because of it, and it's really, really disheartening for me. And nothing's better than some good soothing soul music, and this has a great message. And yeah, this is just, I love this. I'll probably be talking about this some more. This may show up in some threads in the future, and I've played the crap out of this past week. It's just incredible. So please, please, please check this out. If nothing else, just when you're done watching this, go Charles Bradley, The World, and watch the video for that song. It's amazing. Next up, this is something I showed on an inbox a while ago, and I've been started playing it off and on here and there, and it's okay. Not in love with it. It's Greg Higgins, or not Greg Higgins, Gary Higgins with Red Hash. Sort of a obscure folky kind of thing. A lot of drug references, which I think is what makes it so popular. And there's some experimental instrumentation kind of stuff. It gets a little sort of folk psyche at times. It's just okay. It's not amazing, but it was $14 shipped from Drag City, so I'm glad to get that. I think it was worth $14. You know, it's a good listen. It's not bad. It's just not amazing. And the last thing we have for this Vinyl Survivor 12, we have the soundtrack to Save the Children. This is sort of a Jesse Jackson thing where he has his Push Coalition every year, and they got a bunch of artists together and made sort of a concert album. It's got Cannonball Adderley, Jerry Butler, James Cleveland, Sammy Davis Jr., Ben and Lee Eager, Roberta Flack, Marvin Gaye, the Jackson 5, Jesse Jackson, Quincy Jones, Gladys Knight and the Pips, the Ramsey Lewis Trio, Main Ingredient, Curtis Mayfield, OJ's, Push Expo Choir, Temptations, Jackie Verdell, Nancy Wilson, Bill Withers, and Zulema. So a lot of cool artists on here, a lot of live recordings of their hit songs, and yeah, I really enjoyed listening to this double album set. Very enjoyable. So that is the Survivor Series 12. I've just been plowing through more and more music. I've already got a new stack going for Vinyl Survivor 13, so that'll be coming around shortly. So thank you again for watching. If you made it through the whole video, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me some comments if you like anything I showed. And remember, crate digging is not a crime. Get out there and do some. Cheers.